Dark Shadows, number 31, VTR 72566, Air 8866. Take one.
My name is Victoria Winters. Moment by moment, Colin Wood has seen the tight coil of tension drawn closer to the breaking point. And now nothing remains but the explosion itself. An explosion centered on a small piece of metal resting in the palm of a man's hand.
Where did you get this?
This is the valve you've been looking for, isn't it?
You know very well it is.
All I know, Roger, is that a part was missing from your car after the accident. Whether it was that or something else, I couldn't say.
Don't play games with me, Burke. I was almost killed when you removed this valve from my car.
Me? But I thought you said...
I'm not interested in that right now. We've been trying to find this valve ever since my car went off the road.
I know. And you also told the sheriff to make a thorough search of my room.
Well, perhaps he didn't search thoroughly enough. Perhaps... You stay here. This concerns you, young man. This concerns you very much. All right, Burke. I want an answer. Where did you get this?
I found that valve, Roger. Exactly where you would have found it if you'd have used your energies looking instead of accusing me of trying to kill you.
Just tell me where it was.
David, why don't you tell your father?
Didn't he have it?
No.
All right, David. I asked you, Burke.
It was on the road.
On the road?
Yes. As I explained, I found David wandering through town, and I decided to bring him up here.
Well, never mind about that.
Well, let's face it, Roger, I never would have found that thing if it hadn't been for David. We were driving the car up the hill toward the house. We passed the place where the accident occurred. It's a dangerous curve, Roger. You really should build a retaining wall.
Where was the valve?
David told me that he hadn't tampered with the brakes, and I believed him. Since I knew I wasn't responsible either, the only other thing it could have been was that it fell off by itself.
That's not possible.
Anything is possible, Roger. But if you don't believe me, why don't you ask your son? He was there. Wasn't it on the road, David?
Yes.
Why didn't you tell me this before?
He didn't have a chance, Roger. You didn't give the boy a chance. Isn't that right, Dave?
Yes. You were yelling so much I couldn't tell.
David, I want you to wait outside with Mr. Devlin.
I never had that thing, Father. You heard him. It was on the road.
Take him outside, Burke.
Whatever you say. Come along, Davy.
Do you believe that story?
I don't know.
Look at this, Miss Winters. Is this what you found hidden in my son's room?
Yes.
Well, Davy, what do you think? Did he believe me?
I don't know. Why did you lie?
No. That's an old habit of mine. When the enemy is moving in, you try to keep them stirred up as much as possible. Your father giving you a bad time in there, wasn't he?
Yes.
I may have saved your neck. You know that, don't you? I mean, I had the valve right in my pocket. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with it, and boom! Well, it's just lucky I didn't tell him the truth.
What do you mean?
Oh, come on, David. This is your friend, Burke. I helped you because I liked you. Well, I'm not so sure I did the right thing. Your father could have been killed.
I didn't touch his brakes.
Sure. And I found that valve lying on the road. Davy, we can tell those stories to them. but not to each other.
What do you want from me?
Not a thing.
I never even had that valve.
Then where do you suppose I got it from?
I don't know.
Davy. Davy, I saw you put it there. Come on, don't look at me like that, pal. Hey, you remember when you came up to my hotel room? And I went into the other room to get your drink. Well, I peeked. Yeah. I saw you take it out of your pocket and put it under the sofa pillow. Next time you try to pull a stunt like that, why don't you make sure that the door is closed?
I should have thrown it away.
Well, it might have been a little difficult for me to explain if someone else would have found it there.
Well, I wanted to go back, but you wouldn't let me. I wanted to go back and get it.
Well, there was no point. I already had it in my pocket. That's the real reason you came up there, isn't it?
Yes. But I couldn't know that we were going to...
Oh, come on. You don't have to explain to me. You were in a jam, right? And you figured the best way to plant that thing was to put it into a room where a man was suspected, right? And it just happens to be me.
I'm sorry.
Well, you couldn't have known then that we were going to be friends, could you?
I don't know how you can like me.
Well, let's say I know what it's like to be trapped. You do a lot of things that you're sorry for. Say a lot of things that you're sorry for. I kind of wish you hadn't picked on me. The way things are going around here, I'd say you showed pretty good sense.
Then you're not mad?
A little. But if I was really sore, I would have told the truth in there.
Then we're still friends.
Well, as long as you stay away from my automobile brakes.
But my father said he was going to send me away.
That's no reason to do what you did.
I know. It was stupid.
It was very stupid, Miss Winters, not holding on to this valve after you found it in David's room.
I thought it would be safe locked in my drawer. I never dreamed that David would find another key and get it back.
Are you certain that's what happened?
Mr. Collins, I'm getting a little bit tired of people not believing me.
I'm sorry, Miss Winters. It's not easy to accept the fact that one's own son, and now Devlin tells me he found this valve in the road. I don't know what to think.
Well, don't think any of this has been easy for me. I know that David is only a boy, and what I've been saying is horrible. But the facts are there. If Mr. Devlin said he found that valve on the road, then it must be where David threw it after he got it out of my drawer.
And where Devlin conveniently found it. Miss Winters, Excuse me. Hello? Oh, Carolyn. Yes, he's home. About half an hour ago. Yes. He did come with Burke. How did you know? They what? Are you sure? All right, Carolyn. Thanks for calling. Something's wrong.
What is it?
I'm not sure. Tell me, where did Devlin say he ran into David?
In town, he saw him wandering through the street. Why?
Why would he lie about that? Something's going on, Miss Winters. Something that I neither understand or like.
What's happened?
Carolyn inquired at Burke's hotel. When he left his room, David was with him.
I found it. It's not very good, but it's the only one we had. See, that's my mother, and that's me.
Where's your father?
Oh, he's taking the picture. Isn't she pretty?
Yes, she certainly is pretty.
She's beautiful.
You love her, don't you, Dave?
I wish she'd come back. She's in the hospital.
I know.
If she were here, she'd never let him be so mean to me. Burke, that's the only reason I did it, because he's so mean. He scares me. You knew my mother, didn't you?
Very well.
She'll be coming back, and then I won't have to see Miss Winters.
Don't you like Miss Winters?
I hate her. If it weren't for her, no one would find out.
David, you can't blame other people for the things that you do.
I don't care. She tried to get me in trouble, or she got me in trouble. And I'll get even. I'll get even.
Burke, I want to talk to you.
Well, it looks like it's my turn.
That's not particularly funny. Miss Winters, will you take David upstairs and stay with him? Come inside, Burke.
If you ever need a friend, you've got one.
What's that you have there? May I see it?
How many times do we have to go over this, Roger? I told you I met your son in town.
In the street?
Yes.
And then you came here directly.
Yes.
And how do you account for the fact that someone saw you and David coming out of your hotel room?
Oh. I see.
That's right, Burke.
David, I know you're angry with me, but there was nothing else I could do. You can see that, can't you? What you did was a terrible thing, and there's no use trying to deny it.
Leave me alone.
I'm afraid I can't do that. Your father wanted me to stay here with you.
I wish you'd never come here.
What difference would that have made? Your father was almost killed. My coming here had nothing to do with that.
You blamed me for it, didn't you?
I told the truth.
I hate you.
Well, he stayed in my hotel room for about an hour or so. Then it looked like it was going to rain, so I brought him up here.
I see. And during that trip, you just happened to find the valve on the road.
That's right.
Is it right, Burke? Or is it as much a lie as your story of finding David wandering around the street?
Now, wait a minute, Roger.
You and David, you're both alike. You both make up a nice, easy
Just
story.
a minute. Now, take it easy, Roger. The only reason I didn't tell you that he'd been to my hotel room was I was afraid you were going to get sore. He's in enough trouble.
How do you know he was in trouble? Did he tell you about
Yes,
it?
he did. I should have been glad about it. Because well, it would get you off of my neck. But I felt sorry for the kid, Roger.
Sorry? Why did he come up to see you?
Beats me.
Burke, he spent an hour with you. If he managed to get into town just to do that, he must have had a darn good reason.
Maybe he wanted to see what I looked like.
All right, Burke.
Oh,
come
now,
on.
why not? You've been blasting off about me for years, haven't you? Ever since that accident. Kids heard nothing but Burke Devlin around here. So he makes a trip to the zoo to look at the monster. Well, he saw him, Roger. And let me tell you something else. He didn't think he was such a bad guy.
Burke, I want you to stay away from David.
Why? Afraid he'll get contaminated? Don't you think it's a little late for that, Roger?
That's my affair, not yours.
Well, if you want my advice...
I'll tell you this. I don't want anything from you, Burke. Not now, not tomorrow, or ever.
You know, Roger, I don't think you're upset because you think David tampered with your brakes. You're sore because I didn't.
All right, Burke.
No, it's not all right. You wanted to hang it on me, didn't you? You were dancing through the streets because you thought you'd found a way to send me back to prison and lock the door. Well, I'm sorry to spoil your fun, Roger. Let me tell you something else. If anyone tampered with your brakes, it wasn't me. It was your own son.
How long do I have to stay up here?
That's up to your father.
I have to stay with you? Why can't I go in my own room?
I'm sorry, David, but you have to stay here. Would you like to read a magazine?
No.
I have a book
I don't want anything from you.
I told you I'm sorry.
You're sorry? You're sorry. Why don't you admit it? You wish I was dead.
Of course not.
Well, I wish you were dead. I wish 1,000 ghosts would come in here and
That's enough,
strangle...
David. All right, Miss Winters, leave us alone, please. Please go.
What are you going to do?
Would you like to join me in four hands? I'm very good at the bass.
I don't think so, thank you.
You're worried about the boy, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, you needn't be. He can take care of himself.
You didn't see the way Mr. Collins looked at him.
Oh, Roger won't bother him. He'll let off a little steam, tell him what he thinks of him, but he won't hurt him. Besides, you're the one that ought to worry.
Me?
Yes, you, my little governess, you. David's holding a very big grudge against you.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't it, Miss Winters? Well, I'd stay away from open windows. Or better still, pack up and go home.
Why are you so concerned about me?
Because I'm a man of impulse. Because I think I like you. And I don't want to see you sprawled out on the rocks at the foot of Widow's Hill. Take my advice, Miss Winters. Get on a train and go back to that foundling home.
I can't. Not yet.
Still trying to find out some things about yourself?
Some of us can't afford to hire private detectives.
Oh. Oh, you heard about that. My man wasn't very discreet, was he? But if you'd like to see the report that he made on Victoria Winters, I'd be delighted to show it to you. If you'll join me for dinner.
I'm afraid I can't think about dinner at the moment.
I didn't do it. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Don't lie to me, David. It's no use. You're a little murderer, that's what you are. A rotten, lying little murderer, and you're going to get what you deserve. I'm going to have you sent away where you can't do damage to anybody else. David, come back here. David! Come back here.
Anything but go.
David!
Help me, Burke, help me!
It's all right, boy.
David, I want you to come here.
Burke.
I'm sorry, David. I can't do anything for you now.
The only way you can help is to get out of here.
Mr. Collins, what are you going to do?
For the moment, I'm going to lock him up in his room. And later on, we'll see.
Well, I guess I'd better go before I wear out my welcome.
You think this is all pretty amusing, don't you?
In a way, yes. It's sort of like the judgment of the gods, in a way. If you change your mind about the dinner, I'll be at my hotel. Oh, and by the way, remember what I said. Stay away from open windows.
The night to remember is Friday for the Green Hornet when he cuts into crime like a buzzsaw, starting in September in color on ABC. Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.